Got to give you an update on this one. It's horrific. The woman locked up adopted son now gets probation. Doesn't sound like justice. First reported on this incident 2 years ago, but now 48-year-old Florida mother Tracy Ferreter, who locked her adopted son in a tiny cage-like room, custom built specifically to entrap the child like a prisoner, pleaded guilty on Monday and walked away with just probation. After all, they're children, pets. It's, there's no consequence. It'll be fine. They're your property, right? Why would she be allowed to plead guilty and walk away? Perhaps white tears? I'm guessing here. I don't know, but I just don't understand this, given the circumstances.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
Tracy Ferreter pleaded guilty to 1 count each of aggravated child abuse, false imprisonment, child neglect for the torture-like punishment. For several weeks in late 2021, early 2022, she and her husband, 48-year-old Timothy Ferreter, forced the child to live in the 8-by-8-foot room in the family's garage. In exchange for her guilty plea, 15th Circuit Court Judge Howard Coates sentenced the defendant to 10 years of probation. Law and Crime notes the former mea culpa resulted in a stark sentencing divide. So there's the judge. I wonder if he hugged her after he gave the sentence and wished her well. In exchange for her guilty plea, that's all she got, 10 years. Tracy Ferreter's lawyers said they were prepared to make the case, had it gone to trial. Yeah, right. Something of an information session on reactive attachment disorder, RAD, which the victim allegedly has been diagnosed with, and a referendum on parents dealing with such issues. It was so stressful, I had to build a cage and put my child in there. RAD. Mayo Clinic describes the disorder as a rare but serious condition in which an infant or young child doesn't establish healthy attachments with parents or caregivers. We talk about why that might be, if I even believe this is a thing in this case. October 2023, Timothy Ferreter was convicted on the same set of charges, but the next month, he was sentenced by the same judge to 5 years in a Sunshine State prison, to be followed by 5 years of probation. The couple's cases were also severed on a request by the husband's defense attorney, who claimed the wife made inconsistent statements throughout the investigation. Sounds about right, turning on each other. Maximum sentence that could have been imposed on Timothy Ferreter was 40 years in prison. The state asked for 15. He got 5. Wow. Sentencing guidelines suggested 6 years and 4 months. He didn't qualify for even that, not even with the guidelines. While Tracy Ferreter did accept legal culpability for the abuse, she also defended her family's actions after the sentencing hearing. We were living a life that is not what is portrayed in the media, she said. Through tears. I told you were going to get to those tears, white tears. Crying during the press conference. There's a lot of things that nobody knew. We were a completely loving family. I love my kids. We just tried to do the best that we could with what we had. Lumber and nails, that's what you had. You built a cage-like enclosure. It was 8-by-8. So you did the best with what materials you got from Home Depot. In addition to the decade of probation, Tracy Ferreter will also have to complete 300 hours of community service, must undergo a mental health evaluation, attend anger management and parenting classes, and cannot have any contact with her husband or the victim. Does she have to pay child support since they're not in her care? Somebody else. We're left to deal with the trauma and the child. Let's give you a recap of their abuse. The Ferreters were initially arrested February 8th, 2022 on child abuse and false imprisonment charges. At the time, law enforcement alleged the abuse began in 2017, spanning some 5 years. The specific room in the garage, however, was only built in December 2021. A contractor later told investigators with the Jupiter Police Department. After completing the work, the builder contacted police and described the project as, quote, very strange. some decency there. The room was built as an 8-foot by 8-foot space in the garage with its own ceiling and door, the affidavit reads. The worker further advised the door had added a bolt, lock, and knob only on the outside, no knob inside. So if someone were inside that office, they would not be able to exit until someone opened the door for them from the outside. The worker stated he also he was instructed to build this space with electricity, install a window air conditioning unit, as well as a camera in the ceiling. The contractor's story eventually became part of a runaway child investigation that began January 30th, 2021. By New Year's Eve that year, the boy was found at school. Detectives began interviewing him. Soon thereafter, a cover story began to fall apart. Tracy Ferreter told police the structure was used as an office. Woman's story allegedly shifted a few times. She later told police the structure was also used as a storage room, or eventually saying it was occasionally used by all of her children, police said. I feel like no one loves me, the boy reportedly told police, explaining the reason for having run away from his parents. According to police, the boy said he was spanked, hit with a belt and jump rope, and spit on. During his interview with law enforcement, he allegedly asked to be put in jail so he didn't have to go back home. Probation. We're a loving family. I love my kids. The child asked to go to jail rather than go back to that hellhole. The teen's siblings allegedly confirmed many details of the abuse. Additionally, police said investigators were able to corroborate some allegations by viewing saved footage, thousands of videos compiled by the Ring camera inside of the child's longtime prison. Juvenile was able to attend school, however, was confined to the structure during the remainder of the day. Jupiter Police Department said at the time of the arrest, meals were brought to the child. A bucket was provided for bathroom use. Long crime with these horrific details. During Timothy Ferreter's trial and subsequent sentencing hearing, the defense scored several key victories that appeared to culminate in the judge being convinced the parents were, however incorrectly, trying their best to discipline a child who made life difficult. Underlying the father's sentence, ultimately somewhat lenient, was some of the victim's behavior. The boy had previously testified during the trial that he was, in fact, hard to discipline. So the child was taught to take accountability for the parents' disgusting, illegal conduct. I don't know where to start with this one, but I'd like to start with the judicial system. What on earth, Mayor, would possess? They had thousands of videotapes of what was going on in that room. But the child was in there, locked in there. He begged to go to jail. And yet this mother cries and the media actually records the footage of her saying, we're a loving family. Is this like the affluenza case? Remember the kid who drove and killed people and the parents had given him everything and the judge excused their behavior because the family's conduct had affluenza. This is sick. These parents are sick. And I can't imagine if they looked another way, what Judge Coates would have done at sentencing. I don't even know if we can get there yet. Mayor, what say you?
Yeah, this story is disturbing for so many reasons. And while I believe, there's some good in the contractor who called the authorities, he also took the check first. He built it instead of taking those, So there's one thing. The second thing is a child had to survive through this. And for a lawyer, I know it's your job to defend your candidate. Your client. But the idea that reactive, attractive, or disorder, you're going to use something that's designed for kids and infants to defend this woman's behavior, a disorder that's usually talked about with infants, especially newborns and small kids. You're going to use it to determine that this woman was unfit to be a mother. Well, if that was the case, and if you know this diagnosis exists, why the hell is the adoptive services not checking all parents for it? Why are you sending people to these people's house to be adopted by? I don't know what to say about this. Other kids in that house people, this kid will forever feel unprotected. Their siblings knew it was going on. And none of them said this child will never form healthy relationship, healthy bonds, because the trust is not just with the parents, it's with the entire system. The idea that people knew there were 5 kids in that household, how many ever kids, and no one ever saw him outside playing, is scary to me. I'm bothered by this, as someone who is the survivor of child abuse, right? So and from a close family member. So this is so scary to me for so many reasons. I also want to point out that, probation. We have a registry for sex offenders. We should have a registry for people to do anything to children. You do anything to children, you should have to register in whatever state you go into. And I'll stand by that. I am not for more policing of people, but I am for more policing of people who do dumb stuff to kids.
They should have to register and it should be permanent. They should be on the list forever because you have destroyed this life. That's what you've done. And you're right. This child should never be placed back with any member of that family. This child actually believes it's his fault. And they should also be on that registry forever. Mayor, you make a strong point because this is a crime against all of us. Be on the lookout for this probation mama and her white tears. She's a danger to society. When you release trauma-filled little beings into the world, they grow up, they're hurt, they cannot win, they cannot adjust. It takes enormous resources, if they're lucky, if they're fortunate enough, to right that ship. Disgusting, all those videos, and you're letting people plead and get probation.